come to this stage.
Mr. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, from the women's suffrage movement to the black rights movement in our society, there has not been a single movement that has succeeded without the acceptance and awareness and the capital that has flowed from majority society in order to holistically uplift that movement in and of itself. We believe that the rise of rainbow capitalism has allowed the spread of culture and representation in society, which has not been available in the past without the existence of rainbow capitalism. The very significance of rainbow capitalism in and of itself is that we put capital into a previously stagnated pride movement, in which without capital, you do not have the fights, you do not have the power to combat those discrimination happening within our society. So, having this said clear, we want to first deal with the stance that side proposition gives to us in this debate. They say that they want organic change, but then they're simply disingenuous of their own principle, Mr. Madam Speaker. Because if you actually want organic change, our side is this world that actually fosters this organic change and perpetuates this organic change. Because we're really told you from the get-go of this debate that capitalism is directly responsive to society's demands. That means if society believes that rainbow capitalism is necessary, that is a reason why rainbow capitalism has come to birth in the first place, Mr. Madam Speaker. Therefore, rainbow capitalism is one that actually perpetuates the organic change that side proposition so eagerly wants. But second, we also believe there is some sort of mischaracterization of rainbow capitalism coming from side proposition. Because the examples that side proposition gives to us are the examples like Netflix having anti-LGBT donations or whatnot. Mr. Madam Speaker, we don't believe that that is actually included within the framework of this debate. We don't think that that is rainbow capitalism in the first place. Rainbow capitalism is when companies willingly provide those narratives that are beneficial for LGBTQ members at the end of the day. So having these mischaracterizations, no, thank you, sir. So having these mischaracterizations said clear, we have two questions about this debate. Number one, which side allows better representation? And number two, which side allows a better action at the end of the day? So the first point of contention within this debate is about the issues of representation. The one-line response coming from side proposition was that rich white gays are going to be so much represented instead of the trans people. So despite the bullet and talk about the worst misrepresentations that side proposition can actually give us. So the examples like BDSM or like the examples of Glasgow that their second speaker brings up. Mr. Madam Speaker, we tell that this is extremely unlikely to happen. Because when you're talking about rainbow capitalism, we want to first talk about the reason why these companies are engaging in that practice in the first place. The reason that corporations are engaging in rainbow capitalism is because they want to be seen as inclusive corporations that also include LGBTQ members within our society. From the moment when these corporations can actually get those massive backlash from the LGBTQ community, and when the LGBTQ community can say no to that corporation and say that that corporation is not actually in our best interest, then the corporation simply fails in making that kind of narrative that they are actually inclusive corporation. That is the reason why these corporations are so much concerned about delivering a genuine narrative of what the LGBTQ movement is actually going to be like, instead of having the most sensational and the misrepresentative narratives at the end of the day. But let's also talk about the impacts that side proposition gives to us, about the underrepresentation, about how trans people are going to be excluded within rainbow capitalism or whatnot. Mr. Madam Speaker, note the fact that rainbow capitalism is oftentimes led by the LGBTQ members themselves. That is to say, oftentimes we include things like increased airtimes of the LGBTQ members. We gave you examples like the Danish, like those such films or whatnot. We believe that exclusively under the world of side opposition, you have increased airtime for LGBTQ members within the cinema or within the big screen. That means they can also voice out their own opinions as an LGBTQ member, as a member of the movement, and also allow better representation of the movement as a whole. But second, we also believe the exclusive benefits that exist in their side opposition are such things like LGBTQ startups, such cosmetic brands that are created by gay startup CEOs that exclusively target those gay people, or such startups that are exclusively targeted for the trans people or whatnot. We believe that the major benefit of capitalism in and of itself is that you open the floodgate of innovations and have more inclusive societies in which you have products that are exclusively tailored for specific people. This means that even these products can target the minorities as well within the LGBTQ community. This is extremely likely to happen because members within the LGBTQ community have their own unique struggles. For instance, when an individual believes that Airbnb is not sufficiently addressing the struggles that LGBTQ members have, then that person makes Mr. BNB, and then those kinds of startups are whatnot. We believe that exclusively under the world of side opposition, you have these new startups, you've opened the floodgate of innovation and allow a better representation of the minorities within the LGBTQ movement itself. But also, Mr. Miles Speaker, the exclusive benefit under our side is that you actually allow is that you make a market that's much more friendly for the LGBTQ members at the end of the day. That is, from the moment when you see more LGBTQ products or more rainbow or the rise of rainbow capitalism, that is when LGBTQ entrepreneurs also believe that the market is safe for them to come in. That is when they also much more willingly engage with the practice of having innovations or whatnot. But then, what does a comparative world under side proposition actually look like? It looks like spontaneous, illegitimate individual actors. It does not happen in the board of directors room, but rather under spontaneous emotional reactions. This means that the most outspoken ones, the most violent ones within the community, no thank you sir, are the ones that are the most representative, and we believe this is extremely harmful for the minorities within the LGBTQ community. So having this clash set clear, we want to go on to the second point of contention about the matters of action. Well, the side proposition gave us multiple analysis about slacktivism, but our response is simply one, that even in the worst cases of slacktivism that they can actually give us, we believe that it is still beneficial for the LGBTQ members. But furthermore, so why is that? Because we believe that number one, slacktivism itself is, even though it starts with slacktivism, it actually allows and provides a breeding ground in order for more people to engage within the Pride movement itself. So I might have actually joined a gay parade thinking that it's some sort of fun party, but after I go to that parade and interact with the people within that party, actually interact with within LGBTQ, those communities, that is when it becomes much harder for me to make more hate speeches or be discriminatory against LGBTQ members because I interact with them on a human basis, Mr. Man Speaker. But secondly, moreover, even though in the worst case instances the side proposition can provide to us, for example, like having Nike rainbow shoes or rainbow t-shirts, this is much more better for the LGBTQ members as well, because they feel much more safer in a world where where the general public has increased exposure to LGBTQ matter. The comparative that side proposition gives to us are things like NGOs or advertisements or whatnot. But Mr. Man Speaker, how effective are those NGOs advertisements? UNICEF actually already broadcasts UNICEF already has those advertisements that appeal to people's sympathy, that tugs on the heartstrings of the viewers. But how effective have we actually been in poverty alleviation, Mr. Man Speaker? Even though the NGOs exist, if people are simply not interested in them, the LGBTQ members are not going to feel that they are living in a safe or inclusive community, Mr. Man Speaker. Because if people do not know the very existence of the movement itself, then that is when the LGBTQ members cannot feel that sense of inclusivity. This can only happen in the world in which you have a rise of rainbow capitalism, because in a rise of rainbow capitalism, you have the exclusive benefit that maximizes exposure of the general public to the LGBTQ culture in and of itself. Therefore, the world of side opposition is one that makes the LGBTQ members much more feel protected. And they also talk about how it's hard to pinpoint the problem when slacktivism happens. Mr. Man Speaker, we already told you how this is false. When LGBTQ movement believes that a narrative that the corporation perpetuates is bad, they can actually speak out and say and boycott those corporations or whatnot. That is the reason why there's going to be a natural check and balance in which the corporations become careful to not perpetuate those harmful narratives to LGBTQ members. So on to our final argument about how there's actually tangible support to the LGBTQ community as well. We believe that when you have these these corporations are going to have or willingly going to have more collaborations with LGBTQ communities, or also, and even in the worst case instances, you have a market that's more preferable for LGBTQ and entrepreneurs. For all these reasons, we're proud to oppose.